Hey folks, this is Mark Maron and you're listening to Tom Clark's Main Event. Alright? Do it.
This is Daddy Show. Step off.
Hey, what is up? Welcome to the program. Thank you for tuning in. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Tom Clark, and you are listening to Tom Clark's Main Event. This is episode number 33 of the podcast, and if you're joining the show today for the very first time ever, we do say welcome aboard. If you're coming back for a return visit, we say, hey, thanks for coming back. And to everyone involved, we will extend to you, as always, the customary laurel and a hearty handshake. Thanks for reading. Thanks for listening. Thanks for all your support. And hey, thanks for always being there, Doc. This is the show. This is it, man. This is my baby. This is something I'm pretty proud of. I do this as often as I can. I don't do it as often as I write. Let's just be honest, man. I'm writing 8 days a week, it seems like, and doing my thing, or my thang, as the kids say. And we're going to go over a little bit later in greater detail what my thang is. But I'll give you a quick rundown. If you're looking for pro wrestling analysis, pro wrestling commentary, pro wrestling breakdown, all that good stuff, then, well, you come to the right place, man, because that's who I am. That's what I do. I am on the Bleacher Report. You can also find me on Sportskeeda. Also, as well as the esteemed Camel Clutch blog. And you can find me on my own blog, which is tomcartbr.wix.com/blog. 4 sites, man. I mean, really, what more could you ask for? I know. How about my own Facebook page for the show? Ha! There you go. Just go to Facebook, look up Tom Clark's Main Event. You'll see this beautiful smiling face just beaming back at you. And you know what, man? I'm all about the business. I've been a pro wrestling fan since before I could walk. I'm down south here in the great state of North Carolina, coming to you once again from the lovely and spacious Boink Studios. That's what I do, man, and I write about pro wrestling, but like I said, I've been a fan forever. Follow as much of the product as I possibly can. There's a lot of pro wrestling on TV these days. And if you're a fan, that's a good thing, okay? Not just because it's WWE, but Ring of Honor's out there, TNA, Lucha Underground. Some good stuff happening. Again, if you're a fan, it's a great time to be a fan. In my opinion, it's the best time to be a fan since the days of Monday Night Wars. And that's where I stand on that. This time around, the main event doesn't have like a really specific topic. I've been doing a lot of shows lately where it's just been sort of like a hodgepodge of the latest headlines of the day and topics that folks are talking about online and whatnot. So I'm going to kind of stick with that format here because I got a few things I need to talk about or things I want to say to you. So this time the main event is Brock Lesnar and a whole bunch of other stuff. So before we get into the other stuff, let's just go ahead and kick this sucker off, right? We're going to talk about the one, the only, Brock Lesnar. It's no surprise to anyone, no shock to anyone's system out there that yours truly is a Paul Heyman fan. When I was in the business and was running heel manager, one of the compliments I'd ever received from a talent, I never knew these guys. It was a company that we went to work for one weekend in Hendersonville, actually. And I met the guy in my life, and after the match, he shook my hand. He said, "Man, you're like an evil Paul Heyman." That was friggin' awesome. And you talk about a compliment. To me, that's the greatest thing anyone could have said to me, because that's what I'd patterned my heel manager role after, was very loosely based on a combination of, Paul Heyman and Paul Ellering, actually. And a little sort of, sarcastic jerk kind of thrown in there at the same time. You know what I mean? So I was sort of a combination of 2 or 3 different sorts of personalities. And, at the end of the night, I just wanted everyone in the crowd to want to punch me square in the face. And if they wanted to do that, hey, I did my job. So I was very happy to hear that. But again, a huge Paul Heyman fan. If you're not, I feel extraordinarily bad for you, because obviously you don't know what you're talking about and you need to walk around wearing a crash helmet. Paul Heyman has got to be one of the best managers in the history of the business. He's certainly the best of the modern era, and I know maybe that's cheating a little bit because there's not a lot of guys running around right now. But, even when Zeb Coulter came up with Jack Swagger and started working with him and do the Real Americans and all that stuff, I love Zeb. I think he's outstanding. I think he's great at drawing heat, and I think he's the whole Yosemite Sam aspect where he was like the sidekick and he was like comic relief. The dude is very good at what he does. Don't misunderstand me. But, anyone in this day and age is going to be hard to compare to Heyman. Kind of like anyone in the era of when the managers were king and managers were sort of running rampant in the territories. It was hard to compare to J.J. Dillon if you were down south. If you were up north, it was hard to compare to Bobby Heenan. So maybe it's apples and oranges, that kind of thing. But to me, Paul Heyman is it. His client, his number one client of all time, of course, is the Beast Brock Lesnar. And what's got me talking about Lesnar right now, he hasn't been on TV since the debacle at SummerSlam. And we all know what happened there. Undertaker tapped out, ref didn't see it. And, of course, according to Jesse Ventura, if the ref didn't see it, hey, it never happened, which is great heel mentality. I've used that excuse myself over the years many, many times over. But Taker taps out, ref doesn't see it. Heyman sees it, but it doesn't apply. The whole world sees it after the fact. It doesn't make a difference because he managed to choke out Lesnar. Now, we haven't heard a whole lot or seen a whole lot of Brock since all that went down. We're going to see him soon because on October 3rd, which is 3 days into the month, of course, on Saturday, live from Madison Square Garden, the WWE Network, we're going to see Brock Lesnar take on the Big Show. And what I'm giving to you right now is basically the story that I published on Bleacher Report on Wednesday, September 30th. And the title is Brock Lesnar's WWE Live appearance from MSG 2015 appearance being wasted due to bad booking. Now, that's a bit wordy, but it gets the point across, man. I'm cool with calling it whatever we need to call it. I'm easy to work with, so it's not a problem at all. But I really put forth a lot of thought and effort into this, and I'll be honest with you, this sucker didn't take very long for me to write because certain topics, certain guys are extraordinarily easy for me to write about. Brock is one of them, okay? It's not just because he's inundated the headlines for the past couple of years in WWE. It's not just that. It's not just because I'm a fan of Heyman. That's not just it either. It's just that he's extraordinarily easy to write about. He just always has been for me because I get it. I get where he's coming from. I get the whole prize fighter, big money guy, sort of that UFC come to WWE vibe that he had. Actually, before he even left for UFC, he had that vibe about him. So, and honestly, let's be straight about it right now, man. Who created that vibe? You could say Shamrock did, I suppose, in the beginning, but to me, no one exemplifies that big fight atmosphere better than Lesnar. And it's not just because WWE is promoted in that fashion. I think he really does fit that mold. I think it's a very natural, very organic thing to think of Brock along those lines and in those terms. And I think it works on every level. But the issue I have with his upcoming appearance from the Garden has everything to do with the guy he's facing. And I will say this, I'll preface everything I say going forward with this. This is no disrespect meant to Big Show. Okay? Not in the slightest. And anyone that takes it that way, well, shame on you because you're not listening. Okay? You read a headline and you decide for yourself what it is and you sort of go on with the rest of your day. But that's unfair to me and every other writer that's out there. Take a minute and read the column, okay? Before you start bashing me or any of my colleagues, read the column, please. Brock Lesnar is appearing at Madison Square Garden, as we said, on October 3rd. It's a match against the Big Show. Lesnar it's the biggest run of his entire pro wrestling career the past 2 years. It's not even arguably. You could say in the beginning when he first came back against Cena, there was arguably, nah, not at all. This is by far the biggest run of his entire career. He's hit a stride that, you would expect a guy to hit, maybe 5 years in, give or take. Certainly not a guy that walked away from the business and then came back. I mean, Brock has sort of been handed the company on a silver platter. And you know what? You can hate that if you want to, perfectly fine. But honestly, I understand why he was. Because again, the whole UFC thing, man, if Brock were to have come back in and be given nothing, okay, he starts losing. He starts jobbing to this, that, and the other guy, whoever these guys are we're talking about here. Then what does that make him look like? Okay, everything he accomplished in the UFC. Not that WWE needs to bow down to that, but there's a certain image there that I don't know if protect is the right word, but, you know, if you're Brock, you want to protect it, obviously. You want to reinforce that because there's going to be life after WWE one day, whether that life is just sitting on his tractor on his farm. I mean, Brock is going to be moving on with himself. One day the day will come eventually. And when that happens, you'd like to be able that your brand is still making money. It's still making money for you and your future kids and taking care of you financially for the rest of your life. You are putting your life on the line every time you step in the ring, whether you work a full-time or part-time schedule. We can all agree on that, right? And of course, especially when he was in UFC, when the goal of UFC fighters is to basically take your head off. And, you know, I hear a lot of, just as a sidebar real quick, man, I hear a lot of people out there who still, you know, ardently support UFC. They hate WWE and all that controversy that happened with Dana White and all that nonsense that went down, which I did cover here on the show, by the way. But, you know, you go back and you look at all that, you listen to the quotes, you listen to these guys make their arguments against it. And see, I have a 7-year-old, and I have an easier time, a much easier time, allowing my 7-year-old to watch Monday Night Raw than I do ever watching a UFC fight, because I have to explain to him the difference. And I made this comment in a column I wrote several years ago, and I was kind of criticized for it because the comment overall, the comments overall, the vibe overall was that, hey, Tom, dude, you're ruining it for your kid. Your kid's not going to have fun with it like you did. You know what I mean? You're ruining it. It's like telling your kid that Santa Claus isn't real, or the Tooth Fairy isn't real. Who do you think you are to do that? You know what I'm saying? What matters to the kid is what's real to him. That's what matters. I mean, life is going to be tough enough when you grow up anyway. You're going to get faced with all sort of disappointments and stuff you don't want to hear and things you don't want to find out and stuff you don't ever want to be told in your entire life. You're going to have to go through that when you reach adulthood. Well, I'll put a kid through that right now. If wrestling's real to him, then by God, let it be real. It was real to me, and I grew up well-adjusted, and I'm just fine. But here's the problem is that, my kid likes to wrestle with daddy, okay? And whenever wrestling time comes, daddy was getting the literal crap kicked out of me. That's right, folks. My kid was stiffing me at every turn. He was putting the boots to me. My kid worked a bit snug, okay? And tried to choke me out several times. Taz got nothing on my kid. I'm going to tell you right now, to this day, when he climbs up on my back and puts his arms around my neck and falls backwards. I mean, dude, I never showed this kid how to do the Taz mission ever, not one time. And I've shown him some stuff, okay? But he doesn't know how to do the Taz mission. But, buddy, you wouldn't be able to tell that by the way he jumps on my back and tries to, well, again, choke me out. So daddy could no longer have that happening because daddy's a bit older and doesn't want to get the crap kicked out of him all the time. So daddy had to have the talk one day with the boy and tell the boy, look, here's what you're really watching. Now, did it suck the fun out of it for him? Absolutely not. Because like his old man, he may know how it works. He may know that it's a work, but he can still enjoy it and have fun. And really, that's all that matters, is having fun watching the product, okay? Taking it all in, enjoying yourself, getting lost in the storyline, suspending your disbelief for an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, whatever the case may be. He's still fully capable of doing that. He's very good at it, as am I. And again, I had to sit him down and have the talk with him. Okay, it was very important that he knows the difference. Okay, so there's that. But getting back to sidebar, and I do this stuff and I get lost sometimes. I'll be honest with you, because I'm very passionate about some of these things. The UFC versus WWE debate is always going to be there for me, and I'm gonna wrap that up by saying this. I have an easier time explaining to my kid about pro wrestling than I do UFC. Because, again, the goal in UFC is, hey, get in the octagon, take that dude's head off. They can say it however they want to, and it's perfectly fine. It's no disrespect intended to the fighters, including Punk, who I can't wait to see fight for the first time, by the way. But it's also no disrespect to any guys in the NFL. But you're told, get out there and kill them. I mean, that's your job, is to stop them. stop their forward progress. That's what your job is. And then the octagon, your job is to win the match. Your object is to get in there and take the guy's head off. So I have an easier time explaining pro wrestling where the goal is to protect each other from very serious injury, okay? And to me, that's the most important thing. So, again, Brock brings that vibe. He brings that big fighter environment, that atmosphere. He's done so over the past 2 years or so, and it's been really good stuff. And I've enjoyed a lot of his run to date. Now, why do you take that guy? Just throwing it out there to you. Why do you take the big fight performer, the guy who only shows up when money's involved or if he's after something, and put him in the ring against a guy who has no direction whatsoever? And of course, I'm talking about the Big Show, because let's just be honest here right now. The Big Show has re-entered the world of the intensely focused Brock Lesnar. Okay, the man that John Cena could not topple and Undertaker cannot cleanly pin. Should try that one on for size. Is now being targeted by a guy who is a heel one day and a babyface the next. Big Show's credibility has been all but destroyed as a result of this constant switching, and many fans now feel he is irrelevant as a result. He is the complete opposite of Lesnar in this way, as nothing he does seems to have any rhyme or reason behind it. Brock Lesnar gets to where he wants to go through pure violence, through pure brutality, through sometimes it looks to be senseless brutality. There's always a plan. There's always a method to the madness. He's very coordinated. He's very surgical in his precision, and that is, of course, thanks to the doctor that's working behind him, the surgeon himself, Paul Heyman. But there's always a sense of Brock has a goal in mind. He has to do A, B, C, and D to accomplish that goal, and that's what he's going to go do. Okay. Again, Big Show, complete opposite. Show is rudderless. He's got, the last time Big Show was relevant, okay, let's just be honest here, was against Brock Lesnar, okay, in 2014, Royal Rumble 2014. Remember? Lesnar worked Big Show, and Big Show leading up to that point had never looked better. Well, Brock begins the match by attacking Big Show with a steel chair. Okay, beat him down to virtually nothing. Show tagged him one time, and Brock buckled, because to that point they'd painted Big Show as being of course, the giant. He's unstoppable, and he's this, that, and the other guy. And they brought that to fruition at the Royal Rumble, because by having Brock cheat the way he did and take the unfair advantage, which is perfectly fine because he is a heel, but having him do that where he had not really done that much since coming back to the company, okay, it made a huge statement, not really just for Lesnar, but for Show, who you could say, dude, if the chair had not been involved, Show would have won that match, because he had Brock's number. Every time they got into a physical altercation, Big Show threw him around like he was a rag doll. That took cooperation, of course, but my point to you is that Big Show had never really looked better, in my estimation, in a lot of years. That was the last time he was, physically impressive, razor sharp in his focus. He was determined to stop Lesnar. And again, had it not been for the steel chair attack at the Royal Rumble, the Beast would probably have been slain by the Big Show. Imagine that happening. Okay, but here's the thing. He is not the same giant now as he was then. There's virtually no fanfare going into the Garden Showdown, and that should come as no surprise to any of you. Why? Because there's no reason to get excited about this match in the first place. Okay, and I want you to think about that. Why? Because number one, there's no point behind it. Okay, now, do you blame Big Show for that? Absolutely not. He's not booking his character. He's not booking his own matches. You don't blame Brock for it, of course, obviously. You certainly don't blame Heyman. Heyman's trying to sell this match on TV because that's what he does, and no one cares about it. Okay, because number one, again, there's no point to this match. There's no end game. The winner doesn't get yada, yada, yada. It's just a match for the sake to be having it. But the second part of it for me is that no one has any belief whatsoever that Big Show is going to win this match. And to me, that's why it's pointless. There's no logic in this booking. Both guys will bring everything they had to get the match over. But again, why is it happening in the first place? Okay, because Big Show has virtually no chance of winning this match. Okay, I mean, that's it, because there's no outcome to that. The only reason you'd put, and by the way, if it were to happen, holy cow, will the wrestling world be turned upside down. The only reason you would put Big Show over is to put Lesnar at an incredible disadvantage going in against Undertaker at Hell in a Cell on October 25th, and what a lot of people believe is going to be their third and final match of this series, okay? And probably perhaps the last time they ever face each other in the ring. That's why you would do it. Are they going to do it? Nah, I don't think so. There's no logic in the booking. Okay, that's it. And again, Show appears rudderless. His storylines are pointless. That's everything going before he faces Brock, okay? He already looks that way from a distance before he even lays hands on Brock on October 3rd. Straight up. So why would you even care about him facing Brock now? Well, you don't, because there's no reason to get excited about it. There's no point behind it. Again, as we said before, nothing good's going to come of this. What makes the most sense to everybody involved, okay, and this is how, again, you suspend your disbelief, okay, when you're watching the wrestling matches, there has to be some sort of possibility that the guy's going to lose, okay, and I don't think there's a possibility on this planet that Brock Lesnar is going to lose this match on October 3rd. Again, if he does, I'd be very surprised. It would tick a lot of people off, and that's okay. As long as there's logic behind it and it looks good, I'm perfectly fine with it. I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm just saying there's no chance. That's kind of backwards, eh? But honestly, do you think Big Show's going to go over on this? I don't think so. I mean, it's and again, no disrespect to him. I will say this about Big Show's booking, okay? And I want you to think about this for a moment. Again, this is not Big Show's doing. This is nothing that he did himself to make himself look bad. Whatever he's been given to do, he's always tackled it with fervor, with a lot of drive and ambition. Done everything in his power to get over. But I want you to think about this. Despite any criticisms that have ever been leveled at Big Show, because of this booking, because of his size, he's slow, whatever you want to say, he's older. The fact is, his booking is out of his hands. A 7-foot, 500-pound guy with 20 years experience and 7 world titles should be treated with a little bit more respect, yet that does not happen very often. Big Show, he's going nowhere, and he's going nowhere very fast, which will segue into a column I will cover here in just a moment. But his booking doesn't appear to be changing anytime soon, okay? It's pointless, the whole thing. There's no logic in the booking. This was an opportunity, and here's what kills you, okay, if you really think about it. This was an opportunity for Lesnar to be featured in a match with some significance. John Cena, Roman Reigns, even Seth again. Would all have been good choices because it would have been storylines with history, and that WWE could have booked it in that regard. Roman's getting a second crack at Brock to prove he can beat him and all this, that, and the other. None of that happened. And by the same token, newer guys like Rusev, Kevin Owens, Cesaro would all have been different and unique opponents for the Beast. Confrontation with any of these three would not have necessarily need to go the distance before anyone out there starts going nuts on me and saying, well, if he beats Owens, it'll hurt him. If he beats Rusev, it'll hurt. Stop. I'm not suggesting that. But what I am saying is that, just to get these guys in there, because it would have been different, interesting, new, and that's kind of the point here. Undertaker could have interrupted the match, which I believe is going to happen anyway. Undertaker may not be there himself, but I think you're going to hear the funeral bell toll. I think you're going to see a video pop up on the screen. The flames are going to light up on top of the ramp, or something like that's going to go down. And then Taker's voice is going to boom out, or whatever it is, because it's time to play mind games again against Brock Lesnar. Because honestly, as a character, Taker knows that Brock has his number. We know that's not reality. I mean, it's all storyline, of course. But, Taker knows that Brock has his number. So really, if you put Brock against one of the newer guys, the only point there would have been because it would have been new, would have been interesting. But unfortunately, it's just not what has happened here. But instead, we're faced with Big Show as the guy stepping up against the Beast Incarnate live from Madison Square Garden on WWE Network. I'm going to watch it. Just because I write about something and give you my opinion and disagree with it a time or two doesn't mean I'm going to hate on it and not check it out. I mean, the whole point to being an analyst is to analyze the product. Hard to do that if you don't watch it, right? So, yeah, I'm going to watch. We're going to see what happens. The bottom line for me here in this whole thing is Lesnar is stepping into a situation that does not further his cause at all, and probably won't do very much for Big Show as well unless he wins, which he probably won't. The only hope fans can have is that these guys will do the best they can to make the match work regardless of the outcome. And really, that's kind of all you have. That's all you got left at the end of the day. I did, and of course the votes are still coming in, and the column is still getting a good bit of hits as we speak right now. But I did post a poll on this column, and again, if you want to read this whole piece from start to finish, just check it out on Bleacher Report. But the poll question is Brock Lesnar being wasted against Big Show at Madison Square Garden? And I gave 3 options. One was believe it. There is no reason for this match to even take place. Number 2, forget it. Show is a great choice to face Brock. Or, either way, the match will probably not take long thanks to Undertaker. Okay? And as of the recording of this particular episode, 60% are saying believe it. There is no reason for this match to take place, with 27% coming in second on either way. The match will probably not take long thanks to Taker. And then almost 12% of people saying to forget it. Shows a great choice to face Brock. Again, no disrespect intended to the Giant whatsoever. I've been a Big Show fan for a long time. I think it's ridiculous how much he's been crapped on as a talent. Again, when you're 7'5", 500 pounds, and you leave your feet as much as Big Show does, I think, to me, that's ruined his character in a lot of regard. I mean, Andre never left his feet. I mean, you count the number of times. You could actually go back and watch old tape. How many times, Andre actually left his feet. Now, Big Show wants to be part of the team. He wants to be part of the guys, and he is in a lot of ways, and he really is now because, again, he gets picked up and body slammed and F5'd and all that stuff all the time. I mean, Ryback's had him up for the shell shock and everything. So Show wants to fit in, perfectly fine with that. He wants to get in there and actually work matches, not just stand in one position like Steven Seagal fighting off 20 ninjas or whatever it is. So I respect him for that, but at the same time, I don't know. I look at it and I say, well, you leave your feet all the time. How am I supposed to take you seriously as this big, immovable monster, this big, unstoppable giant? I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see what happens with this. I'm kind of looking forward to it, just for the sake of what's it do for the final match between Taker and Lesnar. Does it do anything at all? I don't think that it will, but we'll just have to wait and see. As we mentioned earlier, this column was going to segue to something else, which was a road to nowhere for the Viper Randy Orton. And this was published on September 27th on my own blog, again, which you can find tomclarkbr.wix.com/blog, and is entitled Randy Orton's Road to Nowhere. I've written about this actual topic with this certain particular guy a few times actually over the past few years, and the reason why, not because I'm running out of material. Stop it, that's mean for you to say that to me. The reason I'm doing it is because it just keeps coming up, and it comes up all the time, and it's a little bit crazy actually that it keeps happening with this guy. And here's some examples of what I'm talking about here. Seth Rollins, bear with me here folks, he's the talk of WWE, yes, we can all agree on that. I think 2015's been his year, we can agree on that too. His title run, his work in the ring, it's made all of his days in the Shield sort of be thrown back into ancient history now, because Seth is the top heel in the company. And again, there's no arguably attached to this one. He is the top heel in the company, and life has really never been better for WWE World Heavyweight Champion. We can agree on that too, yes. Kevin Owens, he's been another hot story of 2015. Coming in the way he did, beating John and getting his name out there and becoming a force on the main roster. Now he's the new Intercontinental Champion. Dean Ambrose has been fun to watch. His work with Roman Reigns, I've made the comparison on this show and several different columns I've written over the past several months that they're the new Butch and Sundance of pro wrestling. They're just an awesome tag team. They're an awesome duo to watch. They're fun to watch. They're entertaining. The whole nine. Again, top stories of 2015. NXT, top stories of 2015. But one guy not being mentioned, you guessed it, the Viper Randy Orton. Here's my question to you. What exactly happened to the Viper? It seems that WWE is quick to use Orton when a storyline presents itself, but the rest of the time, Randy's back to doing nothing yet again. There was 2 times in very recent memory when Randy was on top and you couldn't touch him. One was his world title reign, in which Christian interrupted and won the belt twice during that era, I believe it was. And, Orton was basically unstoppable. I mean, the only guy that did stop him was Mark Henry. And to this day, I believe, I'm not talking about all time. I'm talking about in like world title situation. He's over for a lifetime against Mark Henry. He can't touch him, which I think, obviously it was Mark's best run to date and probably the only truly significant run he will have in his career, which is a shame, which is a whole other topic altogether. But Randy looked good during that era when he got the belt and he was defending against Christian and everything was copacetic for him and he looked great. There was the other time when, again, he was World Heavyweight Champion, John Cena was WWE Champion, the two top guns of WWE as it were, and really you were only beating Randy if you cheated and got the ref or use days of the four non are long gone, which is a real crying shame to an old territory guy like myself. I miss the powder coming out of the trunks, and I miss the, oh my God, what did he hit him with, And, just as a trade secret, a lot of times there would be nothing in your hand. You would just play off like you had something in your hand. You shut it back down in your trunks before the ref could see it. Actually, really good stuff, and it worked, and it served the purpose, and it was nice. Whatever happened to the roll of coins, by the way? I missed the roll of quarters. That was nice. But, really, you couldn't beat Randy then unless you cheated to win. And then, of course, his second biggest run, in my estimation, was under the Authority. But since then, nothing's happening, okay? This guy can't even keep his hands busy unless he's wearing the top championship belt. It's as if he doesn't exist without that title. Is that fair to say? For that matter, when was the last time he wrestled for a belt other than the WWE World Heavyweight Championship? Have you got one? Because I don't have one. I don't have one, man. If there's one existing, hey, email it to me. We'll talk about it. But I can't off the top of my head think of one. John Cena rebuilt the U.S. title from the ground up by comparison. He's enjoyed the spotlight that goes along with it. How come this hasn't happened for Randy? How's a 12-time World Heavyweight Champion not being used in any meaningful capacity right now in WWE programming? A friend of mine left me a comment. We talked a little bit on Facebook about this. His point to me was, well, he's comfortable. He's done everything there is to do. Now he's just having fun, just being there. I can see that. I'm okay with that to a certain extent. But part of me says, look what he's capable of. Dude, Randy can turn in some excellent work when he's really on his game. And you're not using him? Like, to me, that's just a little odd. Like, he can't be there in any capacity at all to make, like, an impact on TV. For that matter, when you do put him on TV, you're booking him against Sheamus, which I don't really have a problem with. But after, a dozen times, I kind of don't want to see it anymore. Do you know what I mean? Talk about going nowhere fast. That's against Sheamus, dude. A lot of fans are going to point to his run in the Authority. Like we said before, he was on top of the world. He had it all. Top title, a top spot, all the TV time he could ever want. Serious main event work all over the world. He was the guy, and now he's just a guy. But you know what? Even when he was in that role, his presence was diminished by Triple H. Can we agree on that? This is not any kind of Hunter hate that I'm throwing at you, because I don't do that nonsense. There's enough of that crap going around as it is. I'm just pointing out the issue, the point here that Daniel Bryan's problems with the Authority involved Randy by association. Nothing more. His problem was with Triple H. Triple H was the one holding Daniel down, not Randy. So the thunder was stolen from Randy from day one when he was sort of, their prop champion from the Authority. Not that he wasn't turning in good work, because obviously he was. But from a storyline perspective, he was being protected. He was being coddled. They held his hand pretty much the whole time and had his back, as they're now doing with Seth. Interesting comparison there, yes. Kind of the same issue Seth is having now. And here's my point for the whole thing, is that when Seth Rollins came on board, he took the spotlight from Randy. Orton's eventual face turn led to a win over Seth at WrestleMania 31, which is good. But then Seth went on later that night to win the championship, and since then it's been a whole lot of nothing for Randy. Question is, why? Why is Randy Orton continually plugged into one storyline after another, only to take him back down to zero when the angle is over? This is not the case of a guy in between storylines. This is the case of a guy with no obvious direction in a company that basically just uses him whenever it sees fit. Sound familiar? Hello, Big Show. Welcome back to the show, to the podcast. Tom's still talking about you. Don't knock me out, okay? But it's sort of, to me, the kind of the same deal. Now, I'm not saying they're the same talent. I'm not saying they're the same situation. Randy's obviously had a lot more than Big Show ever had in his WWE career, obviously. Okay, but at the same time, it's kind of the same vibe. You're only really, we don't really have, oh, wait, we got a hole. Throw him in there. There's like no plan. There's no plan. There is just, booking, predicated booking after the fact, I guess you could say. There's no real, let's play defense and get out there with it. Or play offense, let's play defense with him and throw him out there after the fact. I just don't know why. I don't know why that happens. I don't know why it goes down like that. I can't say as I understand it, because I really don't. It just doesn't make any sense. Now, Orton's not a young man anymore, okay? And, the guys that I talked about at the beginning of this, that 2015 has been their year. They're younger, and obviously they've not done what Randy's done. They still got the whole careers ahead of them for the most part. And I get that. So, I mean, How much time does Randy truly have left? Maybe he is comfortable just being one of the boys. And some honestly would probably say Randy doesn't deserve any better. Look at his attitude, his personality outside of the ring, apart from his character. The way he is. If you ever see him on Twitter, he's said some stupid stuff before, and those tweets get deleted, and he moves on to the next dumb thing. But he's human like we all are. I'm sure he said things he wished he could take back and has attempted to take back. But again, do you punish that guy for that, for speaking his mind or for making a stupid joke or being an idiot sometimes? If we all got punished for that, dude, I dare say we wouldn't have jobs, any of us, me included especially, because I can be pretty stupid from time to time, okay? But, despite whether or not he's been the best, again, a lot of people believe maybe he shouldn't have anything more than what he has. But he was such a force, and I say was because he's not now. He was such a force and has been in that company for such a long time that to see him now sort of, again, like Big Show, directionless, rudderless, just sort of floating around, it's kind of unimaginable. 2015 will go down as the year for a lot of things. As I said before, it will go down as Kevin Owens, Seth Rollins, Dean Ambrose, Roman Reigns. It's not going to go down as anything important for Randy. And honestly, of all the guys I just mentioned, Randy's the one that probably wants to see 2015 end as quickly as possible. So there you go. We're going to move right along here to a guy, and man, this is getting me right now, honestly, that I'm hitting you with a bunch of doom and gloom. Isn't that terrible of me to do that? But you know what? That's life. Sometimes life isn't all, break dances and roses. I have no idea where that came from. It sounded good. My first book is going to be called Break Dances and Beautiful Flowers. It's going to be the life story of the Tom Clark. And as you're sitting back scratching your head thinking, what is this guy smoking? I assure you, I'm still straight edge, so we're all good. Let's get on with more negativity, shall we? Okay, this particular column appeared on Sportskeeda, which is a site that I started writing for here within the past couple months or so. It's been a fun experience thus far. I'm having pretty well some fun with it. Good crew to work with. Good website happening there. Please go check out my page, of course. Sportskeeda.com. That's where you'll find the Tom Clark. That's me. This particular piece was published on September 30th. Again, John Cena's booking leaves no room for the evolution of new stars in WWE. We're just talking about new stars. We're about to talk about them just a little bit more because they've got a lot to do with the John Cena, by the way. So let's just go ahead and get down to it. John Cena is back on top again with the United States title. And you know what that means? That's right, folks. The U.S. title open challenge continues on WWE programming. You know how this works. Every week, John basically comes out and says, hey, you want some, come get some. The champ is here. You hate me, I love you. And everybody's entitled to their own opinion. And I got a new T-shirt and I'm got muscles. And that's really what happens every single week. And you wait, you patiently wait, you anxiously wait. Sometimes you're really, really waiting for somebody's music to kick in like you didn't expect. People are still waiting for Samoa Joe. They're waiting for Undertaker. Or they're waiting for somebody that you've never seen before, that you didn't expect to see, come blasting down that ramp, go in the ring and take him out, which is kind of what Owens did, but then that kind of came back to haunt him. And that's right, we're going to jump in right there because Cena is still in the role of top guy, which we all know, but that top guy is practically unstoppable. He rarely ever loses. And when he does, he almost always comes back to win the feud. In a company full of veteran talents taking turns with the primary title, as we saw during the Attitude Era, this was not necessarily an issue. It was fine. You had Undertaker, Triple H, The Rock, Stone Cold. With the exception of The Rock was the rookie of the bunch there, I would say. But, you had those four guys that could trade the title back and forth. It was really not an issue at all. But this is a company attempting to build for the future. It's become a problem because Cena is preventing the evolution of other stars in WWE. And you can hate John all you want to. And by the way, I criticize and I make fun a little bit and I have a few laughs, but nothing's personal. John has put in tremendous body of work in his time in WWE. I will not dispute that, okay? I'm getting choked up just thinking about this stuff, but I won't dispute the amount of work that Cena's put in. I won't dispute his work with Make-A-Wish Foundation. I won't dispute any of the charitable things he's done, or the fact that he's got the biggest heart of anybody in that company. He works harder than anybody else, supposedly, and all that. And that's great. Nothing's personal, folks, with me. It never has been. If you know my work, you know this to be fact, okay? And it's real easy to bash him because of all that. But while a lot of other writers, a lot of other my colleagues, honestly, are attacking John and they're making it personal, for me, it's more about his nearly indestructible persona, and it's really not benefiting anyone but himself. The latest victim of Cena's incredibly impressive booking is who? You guessed it, Kevin Owens. Owens burst into the main roster with no warning. He did so with the adulation of fans that had been waiting for what? For something new to come along, man. He was tough. He was confident. He had no problem confronting Cena on his own turf. Owens was a veteran of the business, but he was still fresh at the same time. Fans couldn't get enough of him. But Kevin had one win over John, and that was the Elimination Chamber, and that's all he had, okay? He lost the next 2 matches. John practically owned him on the mic, even though Kevin turned in great promos during that run. And now Kevin is Intercontinental Champion. He's rebounded. But I want you to think about this. What did he do immediately after losing the feud to John? We're going to come back to that in a moment, okay? Because a lot of people had a lot of expectations that Kevin was going to do some great things against John. They felt that he represented the future, okay? But that notion was lessened to a great degree thanks to your boy, John Cena. John Cena's fault? No, just how the booking went. So keep that in mind. Let's move on to the guy number 2, Seth Rollins. He's been proven to be underneath John as well. That he'd be World Heavyweight Champion, the top guy, or excuse me, the top heel in the company, obviously. Doing a great job as WWE World Heavyweight Champion. Despite what anyone says about him, I don't want to hear that noise. It's just noise to me. I think he's doing tremendously well. But the point is that Cena has Rollins' number, period. Talk about having somebody's number, dude. The point that he has Rollins' number has been driven home so often, it's evident the clock is ticking for Seth. It's just a matter of time until he loses that belt, man. If Seth gets hurt, God forbid if he gets hurt in the ring or whatever, or if WWE suddenly decides to change plans, Cena's going to undoubtedly step right in, and the move will be completely plausible to change the belt up to John again. Because why? He's already proven the belt is his anyway. Seth can't beat John in a straight-up wrestling match with no outside interference. No Jon Stewart, no anyone else, no Brock, no nothing, no cheating, no nothing. Now Seth's a heel, perfectly okay to cheat, but when it becomes obvious, now if they went to a time limit draw, if it had been disqualification, if it had been anything except John pins him clean every stinking time, unless there's outside interference, brother, that's making a statement. The statement is, I can pin this guy whenever I want to. He belongs to me. He's daddy's girl, and I'm going to put a dress on him. And I mean, that might sound crazy, but honestly, what else can you call that? Now, do you expect Seth Rollins to pin John? Well, I'm sorry. He's not Kevin Owens. You better believe I expect him to pin John. Seth is your champion, okay? And the championship belt, this is a whole other podcast for a whole other time, man. That championship gets lessened and the value gets decreased because of the fact that the champ gets pinned by John Cena all the time. And to me, that's just not right. That lessens the value. You can argue that Cena has more value than the belt. And I guess for WWE it does. He does. But at the same time, for me, I'm old school. I believe the belt is not a prop. It's not a trophy. It's something that your best worker gets. Whether he's, a veteran who's proven himself or a guy that's still working to prove himself, and the belt's going to accompany him on that journey. And he's going to work to become the best talent he could possibly be, the best hand he could possibly be in the ring. To me, Seth's the best hand in the company right now. That's just me talking. It's what I believe. And again, yes, he has best heel. That's what I believe as well. But to me, the belt should take precedence over everybody else. I don't care who else is in your locker room. No disrespect intended to John. No disrespect intended to Chris Jericho. No disrespect intended to Triple H or anybody else. But your champ should be pinning those guys. Am I crazy? Is that insane of me to say that? I don't think so. Because honestly, every time Seth drops a pin to John Cena, an angel cries. I don't know where I'm going with that, but it's bad stuff. It's heinous, okay? And you don't want to see that because, some kid in a John Cena t-shirt just went crazy. And no, I'm not ripping on him. My kid has a lot of John Cena paraphernalia. He's got the gear. He's got the hat. He's got the medallion around his neck. I kid you not, man. He's blonde too, so he looks like a little John running around. It's perfectly fine. Daddy's fine with it, okay? But what I'm saying to you is every time John pins Seth, it just takes Seth down another peg. And then the criticism gets thrown back. Here's what's funny. The criticism gets thrown back at Seth as if to say, Seth, oh, he's this, he's that, he's weak. Yeah, but John pinned him. It's not like Seth tripped and fell and got pinned. It's not like Seth went to them and said, listen, I probably should go over because I'm the champion. The heck with it. Let's just let John pin me. I don't think so. Let's all grow up and get a hold of ourselves. We know that's not happening. He's underneath John. John owns him, and he owns that belt. Anytime he wants it back, he can get it, and that's the bottom line. That's the bottom line. You can't call it anything else. If you call it anything else, you're wrong. You're mistaken. You've not been listening. You need to listen to some more of my episodes and allow me to educate you, because I'm here to educate, entertain, and enlighten. That's what I'm here to do, and inform. That's my job. There's a bunch of E's there. But that's kind of the point. That's what I'm here to do, so you're not paying attention. Rollins has looked very good against John. Don't misunderstand me. Owens looked good against John too, okay? But that does not equal victory for either guy. In both instances, the younger star impressed on every level and made fans go, wow, this guy has it. And Cena was giving all he could handle in the ring. Wow, he's almost done this. Wow, this and wow, that. But it was not enough for either guy to come out ahead of Cena in any way that really mattered. They could brag that, I pinned John the one time, or you can't hang with me. But when John wins the feud, there's nothing to brag about, okay? Who else are we talking about here? Dolph Ziggler, Rusev, Bray Wyatt, Dean Ambrose. They're all recent examples of the same trend WWE has followed with Cena for how many years now? Going on 12 now, I think it is. Cena is excellent. He's excellent in terms of sharing the spotlight and giving the guy the chance to get over. In the short term, that's great. It's a good move and works for Cena's opponents because they gain credibility with the fans and their peers as well, okay? But when the final loss to Cena comes on the end of that feud and that guy moves on, he never does so on a grand scale. Remember that bit I told you to remember earlier? Remember that now? Think about it. What did Kevin do immediately following the feud with John? If you said nothing, move to the head of class, you're paying attention, God bless you, you get an A for the day. Because immediately after facing John, a younger talent does nothing, okay? Seriously, there's no forward progress made for either guy as a result of working with John. The evolution is not only slowed, it's practically over. Now, let's end all this about John by saying this. He's got to look good all the time. I understand, and that's to be expected. He should not have to apologize for being the top guy or for having to look good all the time. I understand that, and I expect it too. WWE makes a lot of money off him. If you don't know that, you don't watch pro wrestling, okay? So if John loses every other feud he's in, his value would surely begin to decrease. But to believe he can't lose a feud is one thing. To believe that WWE as a company is benefiting from John taking down every single young star that comes his way, that's something else altogether, my friends. And where I come from, around these parts, we call that balderdash. I call it balderdash. It's nonsense on any level. That's basically what I'm saying here, man. So you've got that bit right there. And again, if you want to go read that particular column, you can check me out, Sportskeeda. And again, it's titled John Cena's Booking Leaves No Room for the Evolution of New Stars in WWE. I would like to ask you if you agree with that. We'll cover that later. I know you do, okay? We're going to move on to our last topic here, which I think this will be the last topic. This encompasses a lot of things, okay? Because I did say this was Brock Lesnar and a bunch of other stuff. And again, we're plowing through the other stuff as we speak. But this particular piece was published on the highly esteemed Camel Clutch blog on September 29th. I've done a lot of work in the past several days, just sort of, this was September 28th, I've sort of been going nuts, publishing a whole lot of stuff, rapid fire in a row. Sometimes I go off on a tangent and I just start ranting for no reason other than, wow, I feel like writing something today. Sometimes, I have to turn in certain things, deadlines hit. Sometimes I just get stuff in my head that I got to get out and things like that, which is why you're listening to this episode. It's why I'm recording in the first place. Haven't you been paying attention? The show is just to allow me to speak out loud and to vent and rant and teach and, sometimes complain, other times congratulate. That's what the show's here for. And aren't you having fun? I know that you are. So let's get down to the last topic here, and then you can stop listening to this episode and you go listen to some more and you go read my stuff and we can all have fun and have fun together, okay? WWE ratings woes versus the ignorance of fans, posted on September 28th for the Camel Clutch blog. Let's just call it what it is, all right? The WWE is going through a rough patch right now. Now, I'm not saying they're in trouble. I read a colleague's writing that said they were in trouble. I'm not even sure what in trouble means, so with all due respect, I'm going to disagree. Because they're going to close the doors and call it a day tomorrow? Of course not. That's not happening. But I will say this, there's no denying that times are not as good, not as fun as they used to be. The house that McMahon built has indeed seen better days. And while a lot of fans don't really worry too much about ratings, the fact is the bad news is traveling pretty fast. Everyone knows about it now, and no matter how many times Monday Night Raw may feature a good match or intriguing promo, no one can stop talking about it. WWE is in a tough place right now, and nothing seems to be getting any better for them. How did this happen? You ever ask yourself that? How did the company that took on every competitor that stood in its way and leave them trampled underfoot, there's your Led Zeppelin reference for the day, folks, how did that same company find that mediocrity would lead to this? The easy answer is that the lack of competition has left them stale and clueless as to what the average pro wrestling fan wants. Now, during the Monday Night Wars, this was not the case. WWE was dialed in. Stone Cold Steve Austin didn't become a hit because they said he was going to be. He became a hit because, why? Because the fans demanded he become a hit. Stone Cold became face because the fans demanded he become face, not because Vince or anybody inside that company said, we're going to push him as babyface. They had to do it because that's what the fans wanted, okay? For that matter, of all the stuff that worked in the Attitude Era, how much of it came from WWE and how much of it was just kind of thrown out there to see if it stuck to the wall? And the fans are the ones who decided, yes, it's sticking to the wall. I like this. Can't wait to get some more of it. Please, sir, may have another. Okay? So WWE was dialed in. Vince was on the spot. They were right there. They answered practically everything the crowds wanted. Now, is that to say WWE was perfect during Monday Night War in the Attitude Era? Of course not. They had several misses. Katie Vick, hello. During that time, but the ball was dropped more than one time. But the company was seen as being ahead of the curve. They were edgy, okay, and fans couldn't wait to see what would happen next. The product was fun. It was always surprising. There was no room and no time to grow stale. Now, I will say a couple of things here before we continue. WWE was in a fight for its life during that time, okay? And, we can sit back and mourn the loss of WCW because we can say, oh, it's the biggest competition Vince ever had. No competition has ruined the company, blah, 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 blah. And we can sit back and say, oh, pro wrestling will never explode in popularity the way it did before. They'll never have the ratings it did then. Haha, they're a dead company. First off, if you blame that company for either one of those things, you are out of your mind because the goal of any successful company is to be the best, okay? And that's what they did. Any smart company wants to be the best. WWE wanted to be the best. They succeeded in doing that, and they overcame WCW. Do they need to apologize for you for that? Absolutely not, okay? Pro wrestling explosion in popularity. Why did it explode? Because of Monday Night War. Take one company out of the equation. Guess what? No more ratings, no more popularity. Is that Vince's fault? Absolutely not. Okay? And it hasn't been all doom and gloom since WWE won the war. Stop acting like that. It hasn't been a funeral procession, never ending for 10 plus years now. There have been some bright spots. It's not as though the company died the day after WCW did. But I will say this. A lot of what we're seeing right now stems from those events because the arrogance. And for me, this is what it all comes down to, man. The arrogance WWE displays at times is astounding. Okay? Examples. What? Here they are. Daniel Bryan did not win the Royal Rumble when it was obvious fans wanted him to. Almost every episode of Raw begins with Seth Rollins or the Authority cutting a 10-minute promo. The Bella Twins dominate the Divas division to the point that a talent like Natalya can't get on TV anymore. Now, all this is nothing. It's tip of the iceberg. It's just skimmed off the top. It's really a bunch of fluff, honestly. But here's the core issue. In every example, WWE sees the problem but does nothing to fix it. Instead, Triple H comes out on live TV and trolls the crowd, criticizes fans that complain while Stephanie McMahon's Twitter account says, I play a bad guy on TV. Isn't that cute with your smiling self? Isn't that precious? The Bellas are featured in a storyline that airs the fans' grievances with the Divas Revolution, the grievances against them, yet it all ends up making Charlotte look bad. And it's killed the role that Charlotte and Sasha, or Charlotte and Becky Lynch had going. Forget Sasha. She's not even an afterthought here. Killed it. People are hailing Paige's promo against Charlotte that night on Raw as being a pipe bomb. Let me just tell you right now, I'm sick of wrestling terms being overused and repeated to the point of nausea. That's what I'm looking at right now. There's no pipe bomb. She didn't say anything that made any sense. Paige was the reason this whole thing came about to begin with, okay? And somebody debated me one night on Twitter and said, well, Paige has cut the promo because she's upset that she knows she would have done a better job as champion. Really? Then how come she didn't keep the belt to begin with? Even from a heel standpoint, that makes no sense whatsoever. That whole promo was rubbish, the whole thing. It killed Charlotte. If that was the goal, mission accomplished. Good job, WWE. Charlotte's dead in the water. It's going to take a heck of a lot of work to get her back up again. To get the mic out of her hand, get the mic out of Becky's hand. Stop letting these girls talk because you're not helping them at all. Get them in the ring and get them back to kicking butt like they were doing before, okay? Because you ruined it. I got off on a soapbox. My apologies. I just get sick of people hailing something as the next big thing or hating something as the worst thing without even putting a lot of thought into it. They just go with whatever the dirt sheets tell them or whatever the popular talking point of the day is. To me, it's friggin' ridiculous. That's all I'm saying, okay? And, here's what I'm saying about the authorities' involvement in all of this. It's like they're clocking in to play at being a wrestling company instead of actually being one. Okay? In every instance that I just mentioned, again, it's fluff. I got it. It's not the end of the world. I got that too. But the company, and this is the trend, the company continues to thumb its nose at the fans. That's the real issue here, people. That's the real issue at the core of what's wrong with that company. The dialogue between the company and the fans has changed. It's over. WWE's message used to be, sit back and have fun. You won't believe what we do next. Now the dialogue is, look, we know what's best, and every time you complain, you just show your ignorance. We've got this. Okay? It's a real middle finger. Listen, man, I meaning the audience, I was there for you during Monday Night War. I helped get you over. I helped put you over that sorry state of a company that existed when WCW gave the belt to Jeff Jarrett, and Jarrett was the king of the sinking ship at that time. He was the captain going down with the ship. You know what? Good riddance to him. That it was a horribly mismanaged company in the end. Terrible TV. Go back and watch some of the last Nitros. Oh, and by the way, have a bag handy because you're going to ret your guts out as you're watching. That's how freaking bad it was, okay? So I, meaning the audience, we helped put the McMahon family over top of WCW. And you're going to talk to me like this? You're going to give me the middle finger and tell me I don't know what I'm talking about? You're going to not give me my way because, oh, we know what's best for business. You don't. Now, am I feeding into Triple H's tagline? Am I feeding into the authorities' storyline to the way they work the crowd as heels? I guess. How would you know at this point? Because it's all getting worked anyway. If you know anything about WWE, if you know anything about any pro wrestling company on the planet, they're all trying to work you. Everybody, the ref, the ring announcer, the commentator, the wrestlers in the ring, the timekeeper, the guy that set the ring up, the guy that took tickets at the door, they're all working you. Every stinking one of them. Why? Because it's show business, man. They just want your money. Okay? They just want your money. And guess what's wrong with that? Nothing. It's good. It's good. I love it. Take my money. Entertain me. Take my money. Make me feel as though I get to give a standing ovation at the end of every match. That's what I want. I don't want to be treated like, oh my God, this is an art. Pro wrestling is the last true American art form, the one true American art form in this country. I'm on the record of saying that. I believe that 100%. It's also a business. Because the more money a guy makes, that shows that he's doing something right. That shows that he's honoring the business. If not, he's just running around like a friggin' idiot. Some people would say that Cena maybe fits that bill. I believe that he's put a lot of work in the ring. Okay, you criticize him all you want to. But the point is, if you have a successful pro wrestling company, that means they're doing something right. That's a good thing. That's a good thing if you're a pro wrestling fan, isn't it? Okay, I'm not arguing that point. So am I feeding into the authorities' taglines? Dude, I don't know. Maybe, I guess. It's just very frustrating for me, okay? The former line of wait and see what we do next was an open form of communication, a great way for the fans to be verbal with the company, be heard on a variety of topics. The latter, well, that's slam the door in our faces, man. It's left us all wondering how it ever got this bad. Now, here's the funny part. The boys in the locker room may not see it. The daily grind of WWE tends to take over, and anything coming from online is chalked up to be nothing more than short-sighted whining. Oh, we're just all armchair bookers with no real clue how to run a pro wrestling company. Sound familiar? Does it sound familiar? It should. I hear it all the time. I hear it from mouths that I respect and mouths that I can't stand, but I hear it all the time. Oh, we're just whining, boo-hoo. But guess what? Ratings don't lie. Okay? While I, for one, don't happen to believe WWE's in trouble of closing up shop, the truth is something's got to be done. Deciding the fans are not worth listening to was the first mistake that company made. It's the same one they're still making, and it's the same one that a lot of their problems now come from. Yes or no? The answer is yes, okay? You want to check that column out, read it word for word, and have fun with it? Check out the Camel Clutch blog. It was published on September 28th. Ratings, woes versus ignorance of fans. I was channeling my inner Elmer Fudd just now. That's what it is. What are your thoughts on all this? Do I just complain too much? I try not to be that guy. I've been accused of being that guy. And you know who you are out there who have accused me of that. Such utter nonsense. I love the business. I always have. I just don't like it when stuff don't make sense. I just want stuff to make sense. That's what I want. And when it doesn't, I get ticked off. Guess what? I'm human. I'm a fan. I'm a lifelong fan. My kid's probably going to be a lifelong fan. His kid's probably going to be a lifelong fan. We're going to pass this stuff down. The House of Clark is just going to be inundated with wrestling fans from my dad to me to every generation past this. And we're going to be doing podcasts or whatever they're doing 20 years from now. We'll probably still be doing it with any luck and all that stuff. And you'll have the opportunity to, either hate me or love me at the same time. So, listen, man, I hope you've enjoyed this one. God, this hour went by fast, didn't it? Did you have fun? Because that's all that matters. That's all that really matters. I'm not going for quantity. I'm going for quality, okay? And if we end up hitting both at the same time, hey, that's good for me, man. It works all day. Tell me what you think. Hit me up, man. Let me know where you're coming from. Let's hash this stuff out. Let's talk about it. You can find me on the Twitter machine at TomClarkBR. Drop me a line. Drop me an email, TomClarkBR@yahoo.com. You can find me again on the sites that I'm on. Go to my Facebook page, Tom Clark's Main Event. Click the like button, because if we get enough clicks, get enough likes on that page, you get a free bag of cookies. I can't confirm that, but I've been told someone in this deal is going to get cookies. It's either going to be you or me, and hopefully they're peanut butter. You can find me there. Go to Sports Keto. Check me out. The Highly Esteemed Camel Clutch blog. I'm there. Camel Clutch blog. I'm there. Check me out, man. I'm everywhere. I'm all over your screen. I'm all up in your grill. Do they say grill? They still say grill? Let me know if they do so I can stop saying that word if it doesn't sound cool. And if it does sound cool, I'll keep using it because I'm hip like that. So do they still say hip? I don't care. I do. That's it for the show this time, man. This has been episode number 33. Thanks again for listening. Thanks for taking the time out of your day. Please go back and listen to the episodes before. Please rate the show if you will. Okay, please read my stuff. Send me some messages. Let's get a dialogue going between us. WWE doesn't know how to talk to the crowd, but I know how to talk to my audience. Okay, and let's get this dialogue flowing. I respect you. Hopefully you like what you're hearing. You got some ideas for some show topics? Hit me up. We'll talk about it. I appreciate you for everything you do for me, man. Thanks for allowing me to entertain you and to talk to you like this. It's always an honor. Thanks for listening, and please come back next time for another exciting, enthralling, captivating episode of Tom Clark's Main Event.